Hello bookworms! Today I'm here with my December wrap-up. I ended up reading a total of 7 books in December, and while I had been hell-bent on reading so much because I really thought that I was missing my Goodreads goal for the year, I realized about a week into December that I never updated the date for when I read certain books that I read in one day during the year. So once I did that, I realized that I was already ahead of my goal for my Goodreads challenge, and that kind of changed the pace of reading that I went at, because while I obviously still wanted to read as much as I could, I didn't feel as much pressure and I was able to relax more and enjoy the holidays more. I know a lot of people don't like doing the Goodreads challenge just because they feel like it puts too much pressure on themselves to read, which is totally understandable, but if I wouldn't have made it, it wouldn't have been the end of the world to me. I really do enjoy creating a challenge for myself and making sure that I'm pushing myself. I think that it's important to constantly be reaching for something and setting goals, so I always do it every year, and I will continue to do it every year. So anyway, I'm going to tell you about the books that I read. First, I read The One by Kiera Cass, which is the third book and conclusion to the Selection series. I absolutely loved this book. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. Out of nowhere, it made me cry, which I really wasn't expecting. But I honestly just everything in this book was amazing. And especially after reading the second one, which is The Elite, I didn't love that one as much. So I was a little bit hesitant about it, but everyone told me to just continue. So I did, and I'm so happy that I did. And now I can continue on reading the next book. The next book is The Heir. And I just really I just loved everything about this. So I am going to leave a link to my full review for this book, which is on my blog down below. And I gave The One by Kiera Cass 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is Shatter by Tahereh Mafi. This is a book series that everybody seems to love and be really into, so I was really excited to finally check it out. But I unfortunately did not love it as much as other people seem to. I thought that the writing style was really beautiful, and that was one of the things that kept me reading it. I really didn't want to give up on it despite how little I felt what little interest I felt in it as I was reading, because it is very quick. There were some things about it that I liked, like I said, like the writing style, so I really wanted to just do my best to give it a chance, and I ended up not really liking it. And then in the last, I want to say it was the last 2 chapters, everything kind of changed, and there's this one scene that happens, and then as soon as it happened, I was like, oh crap, now I really want to find out what's going to happen next. So I was sort of when I was in the middle of this book, I was certain that I was not going to continue on with the series. But after reading that last chapter, now I'm pretty certain that I do want to continue on and just want to see what ends up happening. I didn't really like the main character. I didn't really like her love interest. The only character that I really liked in this book was Warner, who was the villain, and he was also a little bit questionable, so I don't know. I'll see what happens. And I ended up giving Shatter 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Of Monsters and Men by Patrick Ness. This is the conclusion to the Chaos Walking trilogy, and this was unbelievable. I really loved the first 2 books, and this book ended the trilogy out in just such a crazy way. It was just completely action-packed. I really don't want to ruin anything for anyone going in, but there were some parts that could be very confusing if you weren't paying super close attention to it. So this is a book that is very heavy, and you really need to devote a lot of time to reading every single word and understanding every single word. So I wouldn't suggest this if you're looking for something light and fun to read. But I am really glad that I ended up finishing this trilogy this year. I was expecting to probably only read the first and second book, but then I just loved it so much that I picked up the third, and again, it's a pretty big book, so I'm very proud of myself for reading all 3 of these this year, and Patrick Ness is now one of my favorite authors. I gave Monsters and Men 5 out of 5 stars. Then, after reading Of Monsters and Men, I needed something light and quick, so I picked up Wicked by Shepard, which is the 6th book in the Pretty Little Liars series. Again, I had all of the same issues with it that I've had with all the other ones. I really wish that the girls were closer friends by this point, but I feel like it's got to be coming soon because they're at least talking to each other a little bit more and relying on each other a little bit more. So I'm really just excited to get to that point where everybody feels they are close friends, because I love reading about friendship, and frenemies are something that doesn't really interest me. I don't know if it's because I'm like an older person and I never really like got involved in drama like that in my life. Even when I was in high school, I just would rather have real friends. So it doesn't interest me to read about girls that are like constantly keeping secrets from each other. But it was, again, really quick, really, really fun. I think I read it in a day. So I ended up giving Wicked 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. This has quickly become one of my favorite books ever. I really, really love this story. It deals with time travel and pirates, and it's just a really like thrilling adventure story. I love the main character, Etta. She is a violinist, and she goes back in time and she meets this guy named Nicholas, who's like a pirate, and the two of them have to travel through different centuries and just to different time periods in different countries and try to locate this ancient artifact. Otherwise, the main villain in the story is going to get his hands on it and he will completely destroy the time streams. So it was just like so amazing. Like, I've said it before, but the way that Alexandra Bracken wrote this time travel is really approachable. So if you're somebody that likes time travel or likes the idea of time travel, but you think that a lot of the stories can be convoluted and you don't necessarily want to have to try to think about everything that comes along with time travel, I would definitely suggest reading this, because the way that she explains it makes it very simple. I really loved the way that the main character is, like her whole demeanor. She's a very strong, independent woman, and she does not need any guy to help her, but she does end up, you know, having some kind of romance with Nicholas, and they're just so cute together, and I just really want him to move to her time in the future so that they can be together, and I need the next book like immediately. I'm already planning on rereading this before the next book, Wayfarer, comes out, and oh my God, I cannot wait. I just want everyone to read this because it's just so, so beautiful. I obviously gave Passenger 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, I do not actually have a copy of because I read it on my Kindle. And I got an arc of The Prophecy of Shadows, which is the first book in the Elementals series by Michelle Maddow. I was really excited to read this one because it has roots in Greek mythology, and it's supposed to be a new YA series, and it's also like, it combines Greek mythology with witches. So that sounded really appealing to me. Unfortunately, I didn't really love it as much as I thought that I was going to. I think that it's very hard not to compare the book to Percy Jackson just because of the Greek mythology, and while The Prophecy of Shadows promised more of a YA feel, it still felt like it was written for a very middle grade audience, which is not what I really wanted. So I thought that it was a good first book. I thought that it laid the groundwork for the series very well. There is a group of kids who are the elementals. They are all descendants of Greek gods, and because, you know, there's so many like people in between them, their magic is not necessarily as strong as those of the gods, so they refer to themselves more as witches as opposed to demigods. They spend the entire book trying to figure out this prophecy that they're given by their homeroom teacher, who's one of the elders, and I felt like all of the challenges that they faced were solved a little bit too easily, so it made it a little bit unbelievable for me, but then I really did enjoy the ending, so I will be continuing on with this series when the next one is to come out, but it's not something that I would need to read right away. I'm like pretty sure that it's only being released digitally too, so that's another thing to keep in mind, but I ended up giving The Prophecy of Shadows 3 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I read in December was Winterspell by Claire Legrand. I have never been so disappointed in a book that I was like anticipating so much. The cover is so beautiful. It's a YA fantasy retelling of the Nutcracker. It's a standalone. It just had so many things going for it, and I did not like it. I found it really difficult to get through at some parts because the pacing was so off, and there were some things that were just like I was just not interested in it, so it was really hard to even get myself to continue reading it. To be honest, if I didn't have to read this book for the Spines with Wines book club, I would have DNF'd it. Like, it would have been the third book ever in my life that I've put down just because I really just did not like it. So I'm sad about that. But if you want to hear a lot more thoughts about all of the problems that I had with it, you can watch our Spines with Wines live show, which I will leave a link to down below. But I'm so sad because I really wanted to love this. Like, I went into this expecting to love it, and it just did not happen. So, oh well. I ended up giving Winterspell 3 out of 5 stars, but it's honestly more of like a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me, but Goodreads doesn't let you do half stars, so that's why I just rounded up to 3. So those are all of the books that I read in December. I would love to know what your favorite book that you read during December was. You can leave it down in the comment section below. I hope that everybody had a fantastic month and end of the year, and I'm really looking forward to everything that we have coming our way in 2016. So I will see you guys then. Goodbye!